Hello there, you're watching Breaking News on NDTV. I'm Maha Siddiqui. The last 2 years have been hugely difficult for students, switching between online and offline classes, adjusting to different routines in the midst of a pandemic, and finally preparing for a different board format of 2 terms. But the youngsters have shown that they are capable of overcoming all odds. And how? The Central Board of Secondary Education, the CBSE, declared the results for classes 10 and 12, and 94% students cleared the 10th board exams and 92.71% students cleared the class 12 exams. The results are much better than the pre-pandemic years, and discounting the results though of last year when they were given this advantage because of the deadly second wave and almost all the students were passed. Amidst all the changes, though, there was one constant. That's the girls outperforming the boys. But the students have done everyone proud because they've shown in many ways that they are prepared to take on the challenges that an uncertain world throws at them. All right, let me first go across to one of the toppers who's joining us here on the show. Many thanks, Meenakshi. Am I getting your name right? Yuvakshi. All right, Yuvakshi is joining us and she's one of the toppers. Yuvakshi, how did you manage 500 on 500 first of all? Tell me that.
I think it was all because and all thanks to the resources provided to me by my school, Amit International, Noida. And at the end of the day, wanting to study, I guess.
But Yuvakshi, help us understand the fact that this time the format was slightly different. There were 2 terms on which you all were assessed. Did that create any sort of anxiety among students?
I guess, yes, I would like to agree with you in the sense when the system was first introduced to us, there was actual chaos and tension amongst us because we weren't sure how we would adapt to such a new situation, especially with the pandemic going on. But somewhere it was advantages also, I would like to say, because the syllabus was halved, it was divided. So we were given time to prepare for term 1, but then again, term 2, we didn't have the amount of time we had for term 1, preparing for term 1. But then it was because of the school. Teachers were always there. They gave us enough resources, enough practice was given to us. So yes, I guess that made it more manageable.
All right, Yuvakshi, I'll request you to stay on with us. There's another topper that we have with us, Tanya Singh. She again scored 500 on 500. She's from Bulandshahr. Tanya, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Yuvakshi. How is it possible to get 500 on 500?
Firstly, thank you so much, ma'am. And I want to give all the credits to my teachers and my parents. Ma'am, actually, Principal Sir also helped us a lot. He provided us with many assignments, like a different assignment for term 1, because term 1 exams were in MCQ form, and for different assignment for term 2, like term 2 exams were in descriptive form. So we were provided with different assignments for different exams, so they were very helpful in board exams.
But Tanya, as I was asking Yuvakshi as well, this was a difficult phase for the students. There was a pandemic that was still ongoing, and the pattern of the examination was also changed. How has it impacted students?
Ma'am, initially we were also very worried, like we were also feeling like what would happen. We will be able to score good or not. But ma'am, for us, our school has done everything. But for ma'am, those students who are not in this type of good school and they also didn't have such good connectivity. So I think connectivity, if they don't have proper connectivity, so it's an obstacle. If they are not with proper connectivity, then it's an obstacle for them.
Yuvakshi, I want you to also, weigh in on this issue. Did the students who are from the metros or urban areas, did they have a slight advantage over those from smaller towns and cities and maybe even from the villages in India?
I would agree to that. It actually makes sense to those who are not well-to-do when it comes to their economic status. But at my school, Amity International School, Noida, we have a separate section for Amitasha students. So they are the underprivileged students who are given education, and Amity tried to reach to them even during such times and provide education to them. Many of them have performed really well in the board exams as well.
Well, that's great to know, because it is only if the society itself comes across, helps each other in these difficult times, and we saw quite a few examples of that. Will we be able to build a better world? Coming back to you, Tanya, how would you say is the new format of examination where you all appeared in two separate terms?
Ma'am, I think everyone has a different opinion. Ma'am, I think this is good for us. Like, ma'am, we only have to cover 50% syllabus, and we are provided with 6-7 months in term 1, and so we can score good. And ma'am, for the next half, we also have 50% syllabus, and then we are also provided with 6-7 months. So I think 2-term based is good for us.
Yuvakshi, would you say the same? Do you think this new format works?
So this new format, according to me, it had its pros and cons. Pros were like Tanya just said, you know, the syllabus was divided. We were given time for term 1 and time for term 2. But according to me, when it came to studying for term 2, we were just coming after giving a huge exam, a national exam, and then we had to start studying for term 2. And comparatively, the time was less for preparing for the term 2 exams. But at the end of the day, if you are able to manage, then I guess that only matters.
All right. Certainly, you've laid out the pros and cons there well, but final question to you, Tanya, what is your aim for the future?
Ma'am, I want to pursue history honors, and ma'am, after that, I want to appear for UPSC, civil services.
All right, great. All the best for that, Yuvakshi. What about you?
I like studying psychology, so yeah, I hope to pursue psychology in the future.
All right. All the best to both of you. You've performed fabulously today, and we hope that you continue to excel. Let me now go across to our guests who are joining us on a discussion today on this new exam format and the results that we have today. Let me connect first with Navya Seth and Upma Seth. Navya has scored 99.3% in the 12th standard. Utsav Dave is joining us. He's a 12th standard student as well. Vanshika Gupta and Rupal Sharma are joining us. Vanshika is a class 10 student, and she scored 99.8%. We'll also be joined in a short while by a couple of principals from some schools. So we'll get a better understanding of how the principals and schools also braced up for this new format. First of all, congratulations to all the students, teachers and parents as well. Well done to all of you. Navya, are you over the moon? Is this better than what you expected?
I'm actually really overwhelmed with emotions right now. Today has been a very, very special day, and I've been receiving, blessings from all of my teachers. I went to school actually, and I interacted with all of my junior, senior, all of my teachers, my relatives. So yeah, I'm over the moon today. I am.
Vanshika, has the split board exam method worked for the students appearing in two separate terms?
I feel like at the start it was a little difficult to get used to the idea of it, but once we got used to it, once we adjusted to the idea, once we practiced, it became a lot more doable than it already was.
All right. Utsav, did it reduce the stress that the syllabus was split and you were being assessed, in two chunks?
Yes, it actually helped us to make much more comprehensive sort of preparation for both the terms. In order to that, in the first 6 months of preparation, we had completed 50% of syllabus. And for the second term examination, we just had to prepare for 50% of the syllabus. So yes, it obviously helped us more.
Vanshika, but there were some parents and students who were initially worried about the multiple choice questions. Many had also suggested that some of the choices were too close, a little confusing. But do you think overall that format of MCQs has also helped students perform better?
I feel like in the start, yes, definitely. A lot of my friends, I myself felt that it was a very difficult pattern, especially because over the years we were not used to it. Being CBSE students, we had always given subjective examinations, and while giving the exams, while practicing, it was very difficult to choose one correct option. But I feel like it also helped us think on the spot and think about what is the best choice.
All right, before I go across back to the students there and the parents, let me introduce Renu Singh, principal of Amity School, International School rather, and we also have with us another principal, Anita Bijesh, principal of DPS Bangalore South. Anita Bijesh, I want to come to you now because I've taken a sense of how the students have taken to the examination being held in 2 terms. But as a teacher, as an academician, do you think an assessment in 2 terms is the way forward? Has this pattern clicked?
Honestly, to tell you, I felt there was loss of learning time and teaching time because, you know, when term 1 exams were announced, what we did was we stopped teaching and we stopped, we gave a lot of review and practice for children, you know, to prepare them for the term 1 exam, which was a completely different format. So there was a lot of loss, in terms of teaching time. And so what happened was finally for term 2, there was a little bit of a hurry in terms of completing portions.
One student pointed that out. Yes.
I think as facilitators, we were not very happy about, having divided the exams into 2 terms.
So would it help if, say, the first term exams were advanced slightly and that exam is conducted, say, in September, October, around fall, and then you'd have enough time for the second term? Should those adjustments be made?
I think we should follow the same kind of pattern where you have board exams only at the end of the year. The stress levels also were, too much for 2 terms because formats were different. So maybe what we have in terms of the percentage of questions, whether it's MCQ, short answers, long answers, all of it in one paper makes more sense and children can prepare well. There's a lot of time that they get also in terms of preparation.
All right. But I believe that many of the students we've spoken to are not entirely unhappy with the exams being split because the syllabus also then gets slightly reduced. Renu Singh, do you believe that this new format of testing, this pattern reduces rote learning to some extent, something that can be a bane for students in the long run?
Yeah, it definitely does.
So Vicky, I really feel that yes, it is going to reduce the rote learning because the first term was totally objective. And as children said, it was only 50% syllabus. Children did feel that the multiple choices were very close to each other. But we are very happy because the children who have done their NCRT properly could write correct choice, could write correct answers. And it was only 50% syllabus. Only thing what ma'am was saying, that if we can have first term exams, as you said, in the month of September, give them proper gap of at least 2 to 3 months for the second term, because second term was totally subjective and first term was totally objective. After Corona, after 2 years of COVID gap, children had forgotten how to write. So objective they could do well. But we had given a lot of practice of writing for the second term, and there we felt the time duration was little less. So if we have first term, as you said very rightly, in the month of September, and we have next one in the month of February with 50% syllabus, that's a very, very good attempt from CBSE side. Although, as ma'am said, yes, we almost lost 1.5 months for the first term exam. So teaching time had gone, but we can plan accordingly if CBSE decides to do so.
Well, naturally, we understand the stress on the academic fraternity as well. The teachers have also had to adjust during the pandemic to different forms of teaching, ensure that each student, even though they were not in class physically present, they were all online. They tried to reach out to each and every student. I mean, it was clearly a humongous task there for the academicians as well. So clearly you all deserve a pat on your backs as well, and not just the students who performed so fabulously well. Uma Seth, I want to come to you because just as much as it's a test for the students, the parents in India especially tend to take just as much stress, I think more stress than the students themselves. Do you think that breaking up the examination into two parts and breaking up the syllabus also that they are assessed for into two parts reduce the stress on your ward or increase the stress because they appeared for the board exams twice?
Actually, ma'am, basically they were the first batch and all experiments were going on this batch. So it's not easy for these students. They were taking so much of stress because they were not used to MCQs, and the subjective is also there, and turning from MCQ to subjective is not easy for them. They were very much stressed and they have faced so many hardships, and again CUT is there ahead. They have to prepare for that also, and they were worried about that also. So obviously we both are worried about this thing. So
naturally, yes,
the good result.
Yes, and that's a point I think that the principals have also made there, that getting the students to write the examination was in itself a task, because over the 2 years when they were not going to school physically, not that much of writing that was being done, and perhaps the idea of having MCQs to ease them into the exam format was probably a good idea, but maybe it could have been the difference or the gap between both the exams could have been increased. That's one of the suggestions that has come. Anita Vijesh, I want to come to you on the point of whether you had time to be able to assess how students in urban and metro areas did vis-a-vis the students from tier 2 cities or in the rural background, because for many of them, these last 2 years have been even more difficult than the students in urban areas and metros who had better internet connectivity as well. Have you been able to assess their results? Will you be able to give us a sense of how they've performed?
Well, I have only got the results of children, in the urban areas. But what I generally see is that, where children have decided to focus upon, they've got a lot of time. So time management played a huge role in, learning material. So if children, in terms of resources in the rural areas, they did manage to get a few resources. And then after that, children were called back into schools way earlier than children in the urban, areas moved through schools. So I think it's been a sort of a win-win situation. Children, yes, in terms of the urban areas, in spite of getting a lot of resources that I would say, whether it's, through the net or through their schools, I feel that rural children have also risen up to what our expectations have been. They've also done a lot better than what we've seen in the earlier years.
All right, I want to go across to one of the parents again, Rupal Sharma. Can you, take us, Rupal, through what you as a parent experienced over the last 2 years? Were you invested hugely in your child because of the fact that much of the classes were still online? It's only in the second half of the year that offline classes started for senior classes especially. How invested were the parents? Was it too much of a stress on the parents themselves? Because apart from doing their own work, household chores, going to office, they had one more responsibility at hand, and a huge one.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to say that as soon as this online mode was being switched over, ITL Public School Dwarka was like, they tried their level best, and the teachers were quite well versed about it. And they started with the students. If the students were not there, they called up and the students joined and they asked for the videos to be on. Like, the school put in the maximum efforts. The teacher were trying their level best. From Vanshika's viewpoint, yes, the students were at stress. At the same time, we were equally stressed because we had now one more responsibility to take care. But what I think is, it's a teamwork. So everybody was putting the best of their efforts. So it came out well. And that was the key to success, to make the online classrooms successful. So yes, it was tough, I would say. But yes, we managed to sail through.
Yes, managed to not just sail through, but sail through really well. From the results and the results that have been announced today, clearly the pass percentage is much higher than what we've seen in the pre-pandemic period as well. Maybe it's just the new pattern, or it's the extra hard work perhaps that the students put in because of the changed pattern. That we'll figure out in some time to come. But let me also introduce Praneet Mungali. He is the trustee of Sanskriti group of schools. Praneet, many thanks for joining us here on the show. Praneet, the question that we're asking today is whether this new format of testing students in two terms, has that helped students perform better and reduce the stress on students?
Yes, in our experience, it has definitely alleviated the pressure for students because they were coming on the wake of 2 years of a non-regular format. So this year it was especially crucial, and I think it's a move which has been welcomed by students, especially the part of breaking the curriculum, having a combination of subjective as well as objective criteria both. So it's something which in our experience has been a much needed initiative which has benefited students.
So do you think this should be taken forward, but with the changes that people are suggesting, that the time gap between the two terms should be increased because the second term then becomes quite rushed, and since it's more analytical in nature, the teachers require more time to prepare their students?
Correct. I think that's a point Renu ma'am and ma'am have already made earlier about perhaps having it, in September and giving the gap between more, but it's an iterative process. As a first attempt, the proof of the concept is already there, it works. Increasing the gap would make it even more effective and better for students.
Renu Singh, we have the final few minutes left now, so I want to ask you this question, and I'll take that through to the other panelists as well. Do you think that the students today have proved that education, which is not just about academics, but also preparing them for their life ahead, they've shown that they can really excel under all circumstances, because these have been really tough years for the students?
Absolutely, I agree. Because all Amity schools, we were the first ones to take over, everything online. We were right from the management to the teachers, to the advisors, to the parents. We had a wonderful team. And because of this teamwork, children could do. In fact, my topper was telling to all media people, Yuvakshi, today, that it was just like a physical class. Although there is a difference because they forgot number of things. In fact, when they came back, I could see some children were finding difficult to communicate with each other. So the social loss, the emotional loss, children have seen in 2 years. But in our schools, we managed to do our best. And when they came back, there was special counselors in Amity, all Amities. We were talking to them, we were making them comfortable. But as far as CBSE is concerned, only thing we wanted to give them more practice for written exam, which was the second term. But our children were ready. And I'm really very grateful to our respected chairperson, Dr. Mrs. Amita Chauhan, my complete management, who were all there to guide the children and to help all of us.
Anita Vijesh, have the students learnt much more in these 2 years than we can imagine?
I completely agree. When we started, what we saw was unprecedented. It was cathartic. And children, teachers, they were the ones who actually went through a lot of volatilism. It was very volatile, very ambiguous, very uncertain. And after that, what happened was they showcased such agility and adaptability. Like, for example, like ma'am said, we were at a point we were stuck. We didn't know where we were going to go forward with this. But then, like how even in our school, what we did was we had a team which developed their own platform. We had classrooms, we had assessments. The entire offline format was brought into the online format. And children, what they taught us is that, when we would get behind them and talk about time management and being focused, they actually taught us this time that they really learned, unlearned, and relearned the entire process. They showcase such resilience. They showcase such adaptability. They showcase that, where there is a will, there is definitely a way. So I'm telling you that, in terms of life skills, they've really reached it up right here. They've surpassed our expectations.
So, Utsav, do you feel you're ready to take on the world now?
Not really the world, but yes, really about my dreams. So I'm currently studying in Kota and preparing for JEE. So this is just the board exams are just a stop on my bigger destination. So my bigger destination is somewhere which would help in development for my career and for myself. So not actually for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Many congratulations once again to all those who are here on the panel today, the students, parents, teachers. It's everybody's hard work collectively that has paid off today.